This eraser tool is really bad. All right, first thing we have to do is identify the pattern in the table and then fill in the missing values. So for 1 and 2, they gave us the first 3 numbers. We got to find the pattern. Usually the first thing I check for is if the pattern is adding or subtracting, because those are a little easier to spot. So you might be able to do this in your head. Try to think of a number. If you add it to 28, you would get 37. If mental math is not your favorite thing to do, just go to your calculator and type in 37 minus 28. That would give you the difference between those two numbers, which is how much you would have to add to get from 28 to 37. So that happens to be 9. So to get from this first number to the second number, we're adding 9. Now we're going to check to see if that's true to get from the second number to the third number. So now that we have our kind of theory, we could just check, is 37 plus 9 equal to 46? Whether you use mental math or a calculator, either way is fine, but 37 plus 9 is indeed 46. So there's our pattern. We are adding 9 every single time. All I'm going to do now is use my calculator to keep adding 9 until I have my entire table filled in. So 46 plus 9, so that'd be 55, 64, and 73. So now number 2, I'm going to start the same way. Is this adding or subtracting? That'd be great if it was. So let's see, 128 to 64. If I don't feel like doing that in my head, I could just do 64 minus 128. I get negative 64. Okay, clearly this is going down. We're going from 128 to 64. So minus 64. Let's see if that pattern continues. If I were to subtract 64 again, I would get 0, not 32. All right, so that didn't work. Okay, so since subtracting and adding didn't work, now we have to think about, is this multiplying or dividing? Sometimes it's kind of tricky with bigger numbers. You could maybe think about the smaller numbers. So compare 32 to 64. If you want, you could take out your calculator and try doing 64 divided by 32, see what happens. Once you've played around with it a little bit, you might notice that this is dividing by 2. So 64 is half of 128. 32 is half of 64. So now I'm just going to keep that pattern going. Half of 32 is 16, half of 16 is 8, and half of 8 is 4. Okay, last thing we're going to do in number 3, it says use the given equation, so that's here, to find the y values needed to complete each coordinate pair. Okay, so a coordinate pair is an x and y value that go together, according to this equation. This is how we write a coordinate pair. We use parentheses, and we always put the x value first, then a comma, then the y value. And the coordinate pair is called a pair because it's telling us that these two numbers are paired together. This particular x value, if you were to plug it into the equation, would give you this particular y value. So here's the first one. This first number is x. X always goes first. It's in alphabetical order, if that helps. And what they want to know is the y value that is paired with that x value. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in 2 for x in our given equation. So negative 4 times 2, that's negative 8, plus 9, that gives me 1. So the x value of 2 is paired with the y value of 1 for this particular equation. Okay, same idea here. Now the x value is negative 3. So I'm going to plug in negative 3. Now remember, a negative times a negative gives you a positive. 12 plus 9, that is 21. Perfect. And last, the x value is 0. So negative 4 times 0 plus 9. Negative 4 times 0 is just 0. Plus 9 is 9.